Hey, as the title suggests, there is a pretty large issue inside of Destiny that is about to be addressed, but honestly I feel like not many players are super aware of the issue, conscious of it, or whatever. This issue has to do with our primary weapons, but before I tell you exactly what it is, I just want to show you something real quick. This is a list of the top 10 weapons in the kinetic and energy slot, according to warmind.io, that were used in the raid Root of Nightmares this past week. Now, what I want to talk about is primary weapons, so just comparing the numbers to each other, we're going to find out what is the most popular and descending across the top 10. So again, looking at the percentages, starting with Striga in first place, then moving to Funnelweb in second place, and then Callous Mini Tool, Icos SMG, Rufus's Fury, Unforgiven, Quicksilver Storm, Perpetualis Submission, and Outbreak. Those are the top 10 primary weapons in descending order. Is there anything you notice? I gave you a little second to look, but if you didn't see it, most of them are SMGs. 6 out of 10 to be exact. And even excluding the exotic SMG Striga, that's still 5 out of 10. More than half of the top 10 primary weapons used in the Root of Nightmares raid for the past week were SMGs. And that's an issue. Not so much that it has a huge negative impact on the game, but more so it's just kind of boring. I use SMGs. I actually use the BXR Battler, which is in the top 10 for energies, but if I'm not using that, I'm using an SMG because SMGs really are just better. The issue that sprouts from this is there's no variety. Everybody's using the same thing, and that's just lame. However, there is a reason behind that, and that's because SMGs are statistically just better. If you want an example of that, Error, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know, made a video going over like the Immortal SMG, and he had a little clip in there which talked about the DPS of primary weapons. I'll show you his results right here, but the SMGs just do more DPS and they're way like easier to use. Like there's no reason you should be using an auto rifle or something over an SMG. Now earlier I did say I was getting addressed, and that's because the Destiny 2 team on Twitter recently put out a tweet talking about the mid-season patch and how they're going to be adjusting weapons. And they said specifically, they will not be nerfing SMGs, and they will instead be buffing other weapons to bring them up to parity and be a viable option that isn't just statistically worse. Now this is great because SMGs feel amazing, and I'm sure that's why most of you use them, as the stats actually show. And having those just become less useful would suck. But having all these other weapons that we've had in our vault forever that just don't get touched because why would you use them, actually have a place in our loadouts, is really exciting. Now, because I like to go over numbers and we have the stats, so I might as well show them off, this next list of weapons is for the top 10 used primaries in the Duality dungeon. Warmind.io didn't actually have the Spy or the Watcher stats, which I don't know why. Obviously that would be a little bit better since that still drops Pinnacle, but yeah, it's a dungeon, same kind of thing. And the order will look largely familiar, starting with Osteo, then Funnelweb, Callous Mini Tool, Unforgiven, Icos SMG, Quicksilver Storm, Perpetualis, Wishender, Synchronic Roulette, and then Submission. So that's actually even more than the raid. That's 7 out of the top 10 primary weapons going to SMGs. But again, we already know why that's the case. It's just interesting to, have more proof that SMGs are obviously by far the most popular weapons in the game. And then for the final little statistic showcase, Gambit and the whole 3 people that play that are also using SMGs, starting with Striga, then Funnelweb, Quicksilver Storm, Callous Mini Tool, Icos SMG, Vergless Curve, Risk Runner, Perpetualis, a Monarch, and then Final Warning. So yeah, even Gambit can't avoid the SMG master race. So with the statistics being shown and the changes that they've said are coming, I'm really excited to finally be able to use something outside of an SMG. By the way, if they buff other primaries, including pulse rifle, scouts, hand cannons, sidearms, expect to see like a lot more BXR, because that gun is already cracked, and if it becomes even better, then I fear that one may actually just top the charts. At least I'm kind of hoping it tops the charts. I'm a little bit biased. As for what primary weapons should actually get looked at, I think the top should be auto rifles. We do have Quicksilver Storm and Perpetualis showing up in all of the stats, but Quicksilver Storm doesn't really count because it's an exotic and it gets that omega huge 40% buff against red bars. And then Perpetualis, personally, I don't think it's that great because, well, I would rather use an SMG, but the only other strand SMG before this weekend being the Immortal was Synchronic Roulette, and that thing is trash. But that's what they should do to auto rifles, outside of obviously increasing their damage. They just need to either increase the range or like the forgiveness on hitting shots with them, because SMGs do everything auto rifles do but better. As I had showed y'all earlier in Error's video, SMGs have so much more DPS than an auto rifle, and they essentially take up the same space. So why would you not use an SMG? So they're definitely gonna have to do some work there to get those not trash. And then after that, I think sidearms need a little tweaking on probably their accuracy cones in PvE. There's been some buzz about sidearms in the past, like that one from a million years ago during the sundial. I forgot its name, but it's on screen now. And they can be like the best gun in the game, but they're just not super easy to use. It always feels like when I use a sidearm, I never hit my headshots because I'm always like clicking so fast, and I don't know, I would just use an SMG, as most people would with every other gun ever. Scouts are definitely in an interesting position. They did say they were going to bring other weapons into parity for SMGs, but scouts are kind of in like the same setting as a sniper, where Bungie doesn't really want to buff them too much because you get that insane range and that safety of being super far away from your enemies. We might see some just like stability changes, if I had to guess, some absolute, here's some nothing. And then in a similar but more important part would be pulse rifles. I'd already said earlier, if they do buff pulse rifles, BXR might become a little too busted, but the BXR is it's in a unique situation because it can do that crazy hipfire gaming, but other pulse rifles could probably use some maybe some damage. I feel like they don't really do a whole lot, especially if you do get pushed up on by some thrall and you need to hipfire it. And then there's hand cannons. One hand cannon that I actually use fairly often inside of PvE is Nihilus Luna with Headstone, and it genuinely doesn't feel that bad, but I could definitely see some hand cannon damage increases because their low fire rate kind of just makes it really difficult to stagger enemies, especially in high-end content, and that's probably why even amongst exotics and stuff you don't see hand cannons in any of the top 10s. And of course, that's me thinking of 140 hand cannons. 180s and 120s are just not. They don't exist in PvE. So with that being said, we're just gonna have to wait. They say we'll get more detail in the end of month TWAB, which will be the one after this week, and we'll actually be able to, tell if any of these buffs are gonna make a difference, or if SMGs are just gonna stay, 6 of the top 10 used weapons inside raids, dungeons, and Gambit. But honestly, at the end of the day, anything's gonna help because variety is just nice to see. I would love to see some wacky little hand cannon become the meta for clearing red bars in PvE, because I think that'd be funny. I think that'd be fun and interesting, rather than just seeing funnel web for the 4 millionth time. Although I don't think funnel web's going anywhere because volatile rounds is insane. And to add at the end here, for PvP, I don't know anything about that. They said they're gonna nerf Ikelos and Terra, or whatever. I don't play that. So when the TWAB comes out, I'll if there's any changes for PvP, I'll talk about that as well. But I couldn't speculate on any of that. And I think that's it. Do you guys think that SMGs are still gonna stay on top? Do you think maybe there's some sleeper picks in there that even now people should be using, but they just aren't? What do you guys use? Do you guys use SMGs? Going off of the numbers, I would put money that you do, but maybe you don't. Maybe you've got like a secret little beater. Let me know in the comments. And if you'd like to support this channel, this video, and you can't think of comment below primary variety in hopes to, manifest what we want to see with the mid-season patch. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my stuff and you'd like to see more breakdowns, more content, more talking about Destiny 2, feel free to subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you around.